The war ended with quiet lies instead of loud victory. Across human space, people were told the fighting was over and peace had been achieved. The alien coalition announced a ceasefire and called it fair. Their ships withdrew from the front lines, and their leaders spoke in calm voices through glowing screens. They said both sides had suffered. They said the future would be built together. Kong Dae Haihan stood inside a repair bay on the edge of a broken colony ring and listened to those speeches in silence. The bay smelled of metal dust and burnt wiring. His hands were stained with grease, even though he no longer worked as a simple technician. He had once planned supply routes for entire fleets during the war. He knew how wars ended when they truly ended. This did not feel like that. The treaty arrived soon after. It was long and written in careful language. It promised protection, cooperation, and shared recovery. In return, humanity agreed to provide resources to rebuild damaged alien systems. Few people questioned it at first. The war had taken too much already. Cities were empty. Ships were broken. Families were tired of fear. But the numbers did not make sense. Kong Dae Haihan read the treaty again and again. The resource quotas were labeled temporary, but they had no clear end. Mining rights were called shared, yet humans were denied access to entire regions of their own space. Human shipyards were restricted from producing certain engines and navigation cores. The excuses were always about safety and balance. He remembered how the aliens had fought. They had used clever timing and false retreats. They had promised ceasefires before and broken them hours later. Deception had been their strongest weapon. Kong Dae Haihan felt a cold weight settle in his chest. The war had not ended. It had only changed shape. On another world, Park Ji-won stared at a sealed console inside a power station. She was an engineer, trained to repair aging reactors and keep cities alive with limited parts. Since the treaty, alien inspectors visited her sites often. They smiled and spoke softly, but they locked systems behind foreign codes and declared them unsafe for human use. Ji-won followed the restrictions at first. Then she noticed something strange. The locked systems were not dangerous. They were advanced. Too advanced. With small changes, they could improve human energy output by nearly double. Instead, the aliens limited production and forced humans to rely on imported power cells that were expensive and slow to arrive. She shared her findings quietly with other engineers. Most were afraid to listen. A few were angry. All of them were tired. Shortages spread slowly at first, then faster. On agricultural colonies, food shipments were delayed because alien ships had priority lanes. On industrial worlds, factories shut down for lack of power. On medical stations, equipment failed and could not be replaced because spare parts were listed as restricted technology. Lee Hae-rin worked in one of those medical stations. She treated miners with crushed limbs and children weakened by poor nutrition. She saw alien officials walk past suffering humans without stopping. Their orders were clear. Aid was limited. Supplies were allocated by treaty guidelines. Hae-rin followed her oath anyway. She reused tools. She cleaned and repaired equipment that should have been thrown away. She kept records of every shortage and every denial. She believed that truth mattered, even if no one wanted to hear it yet. Across the stars, Choi Soong-tae flew small transport ships along approved routes. He had once been a combat pilot, trusted with fast strikes and risky missions. Now he carried cargo under strict supervision. Alien patrols scanned his ship at every stop. They treated him like a criminal waiting to fail. Soong-tae noticed patterns. Certain alien convoys were never inspected. Certain routes were always clear. He memorized schedules and distances. He pretended to be bored and obedient. In truth, he was learning the enemy all over again. The official human governments urged patience. They repeated alien promises and warned against unrest. They said resistance would bring punishment. Many leaders had signed private agreements to protect their own worlds. Unity weakened, just as the aliens expected. Han Su-min worked as a data analyst for a colonial archive network. Her job was to organize war records and treaty documents for public access. She was quiet and careful. She trusted patterns more than people. While cross-checking old battle logs with new economic data, she found something impossible to ignore. Some alien fleet movements during the final days of the war matched perfectly with early drafts of the treaty. Resource claims were planned before peace was declared. The aliens had known exactly which human systems they wanted long before the ceasefire. Su-min copied the files and hid them in harmless-looking data clusters. She did not share them yet. She needed confirmation. Truth without timing could be useless or deadly. The pressure increased month by month. Channels filled with frustration. Workers protested shortages. Colonists accused each other of hoarding. Alien media blamed human inefficiency. They spoke of guidance and supervision, never control. Kang Dae-hyan watched all of this from the edges. He spoke to former officers and engineers. He listened more than he talked. He noticed how many people had the same quiet anger in their eyes. One night, inside a dim maintenance tunnel beneath the station that officially produced nothing of value, Kang Dae-hyan met Park Ji-won for the first time. The tunnel hummed with old power lines. No cameras worked there anymore. Ji-won showed him her notes. Restricted systems. False safety reports. Deliberate limits. Kang Dae-hyan did not look surprised. He only nodded. This is control, he said softly. Not peace. Soon after, Lee Hae-rin joined them. She brought medical data and images that were never shown on public feeds. Faces of the sick and injured. Names of denied shipments. Dates that matched alien inspections. Choi Soong-tae arrived last, still wearing his pilot jacket. He shared route maps and convoy schedules. He spoke little, but every word carried weight. Finally, Han Su-min sent a message. A single data packet with no explanation. Kang Dae-hyan opened it and felt the last doubt disappear. The deception was real. It had always been real. They did not celebrate. They did not shout. They understood something important together. Humans had lost the war on the battlefield, but the enemy believed that was the end. The aliens thought humans were tired and divided. They believed fear would keep them obedient. They were wrong. Kang Dae-hyan looked at the small group around him. Engineers, medics, pilots, analysts. Not soldiers. Not heroes. Just people who refused to accept a lie as peace. He spoke calmly. We do not attack. Not yet. We learn. We adapt. We survive. Outside the station, alien ships drifted confidently through human space. They believed they had already won. In the shadows of broken systems and quiet corridors. Humanity began to remember how to endure, how to wait, and how to take back what was stolen without firing the first obvious shot. The shortages did not arrive like a storm. They came like slow poison. At first, people adjusted. They ate less. They repaired old machines instead of replacing them. They told their children stories about patience and recovery. Then the power cuts became longer. The food lines became quieter. Silence replaced hope. On an industrial moon near a gas giant, factories went dark one by one. Alien officials blamed maintenance failures. Human workers knew better. The energy flow had been reduced on purpose. Park Ji-won stood inside a control room filled with dim lights and cold air. She watched gauges sit far below safe limits, while alien inspectors marked everything as acceptable. She had stopped arguing weeks ago. Arguments only brought warnings. Instead, she observed. She copied system behavior into private logs. She learned how alien limits were enforced and where the cracks were. Small timing gaps. Delays between commands. Human machines still listened to human hands. If touched carefully. In medical zones, Lee Hae-rin worked until exhaustion blurred her vision. She treated people who should not have been sick. Miners collapsed from weak muscles. Children developed slow fevers that would not break. Official supply lists showed full deliveries. Storage rooms told another story. One night, Hae-rin counted the remaining filters for air recyclers. The number was wrong. She checked again. Someone had removed them without record. She confronted an alien overseer, calm and polite. He smiled and said replacements were scheduled. Weeks away. She wrote everything down. On a distant transport route, Choi Soong-tae flew a damaged freighter that barely held together. Alien patrols followed him closely, but they never scanned his private cargo logs. They trusted their own control systems too much. Soong-tae learned to hide messages inside routine traffic data. Short bursts. No patterns. He mapped alien supply chains quietly. He saw how alien ships carried luxury goods and military equipment, while human stations waited for medicine and power cells. The imbalance was not an accident. It was design. Kang Dae-hyan moved often. He avoided fixed locations in public channels. He spoke to dock managers, repair crews, and freight coordinators, people who touched the real systems of civilization. He never spoke of rebellion. He spoke of efficiency, survival, and shared knowledge. He noticed how humans adapted without orders. A mechanic taught another mechanic how to bypass a limiter. A farmer adjusted soil bacteria to increase yield with less power. A station chief quietly delayed alien inspections until repairs were complete. Humans were learning again. Han Su-min worked alone most nights. She expanded her search beyond official archives. She accessed forgotten backups and abandoned war nodes. What she found made her hands shake. Early alien strategy files described humanity as resilient but predictable. The plan was clear. Win the war just enough. Then bind humans with rules they would try to follow. She discovered financial controls hidden inside shipping software. She found population movement limits disguised as safety measures. The treaty was not peace. It was a cage. Su-min encrypted her findings and split them across multiple locations. She began sharing pieces with Kang Dae-hyan through indirect channels. No names, no meeting points. Just data. The small group from before grew slowly. Never in one place. Never all together. Park Ji-won trained other engineers using harmless language. She called it efficiency tuning. Lee Hae-rin taught medics how to extend supplies and track denials without triggering alerts. Choi Soong-tae introduced trusted pilots to alternative routes and timing tricks. They did not call it resistance. Alien confidence grew as human production dropped. Alien leaders spoke openly about guidance and supervision. Some even suggested permanent oversight. Human leaders protested softly, then signed revised agreements. Anger spread among the people, but it did not explode. It focused. On one mining colony, an alien shipment was delayed by a simple error. A code mismatch. The delay caused a chain reaction. Alien factories missed deadlines. Their own supervisors began arguing. Humans fixed the error quickly, but they learned something important. Alien systems were fragile when stressed. Kang Dae-hyan paid close attention to that event. He asked questions. He listened to reports. He saw opportunity. In a hidden workshop, Park Ji-won completed a quiet experiment. She modified a civilian loader machine to operate at double efficiency without triggering alien alarms. The change was subtle. The result was powerful. She smiled for the first time in months. Lee Hae-rin faced her hardest moment when an alien child was brought into her clinic. The child was injured during a transport accident. Alien guards expected priority treatment. Hae-rin treated the child without hesitation, using supplies meant for humans. Later, she documented everything. The injury, the treatment, the alien gratitude. She understood something new. The enemy was not every alien citizen. It was the system that used suffering as leverage. Choi Soong-tae witnessed alien crews argue among themselves when supplies ran short. Their unity was thinner than it appeared. He recorded voices and patterns, storing them for later. Han Soo-min finished assembling the truth. The deception was complete and proven. The war outcome, the treaty planning, the long-term exploitation strategy. It was all there. She sent the final confirmation to Kang Dae-hyan. That night, Kang Dae-hyan stood alone on a station balcony. He watched cargo ships drift past, heavy with stolen value. He thought of the war, of friends lost, of cities burned. He did not feel rage. He felt clarity. Humans could not fight this war with fleets and bombs. Not yet, but they could do something the aliens did not expect. They could take control quietly. They could turn dependence into weakness. He sent a simple message through the growing network. Learn everything. Share everything. Do nothing that reveals us. Across human space, small actions began to align. Systems adjusted. Data flowed. Knowledge spread faster than fear. The aliens still believed humans were broken. They did not see the hands rebuilding, strength beneath the surface. They did not notice the cage beginning to weaken from the inside. Change did not come with alarms or speeches. It arrived through habits. People adjusted how they worked, how they shared, how they fixed things. The alien overseers saw nothing unusual. Production numbers stayed low, just as expected. Human reports remained polite and calm. The surface stayed quiet. Under that surface, systems began to move in new ways. Kang Dae-hyan focused on connection. He encouraged no single leader and no central command. Information flowed like water, changing shape to fit each place. A dock worker knew something a station manager did not. A pilot understood timing better than any official. Knowledge was shared sideways, never upward. He taught people to think like logistics officers. Where did things come from? Where did they go? What happened if they slowed or stopped? Humans had once moved entire fleets under fire. Now they moved ideas under watchful eyes. Park Ji-won trained engineers through work itself. She never said do this to resist. She said this saves power. This reduces wear. This avoids delays. Her small modifications spread fast because they worked. Machines ran longer. Output improved quietly. Alien monitoring systems read normal behavior. Soon, human stations required fewer alien imports. The change was small, but it mattered. Lee Hae-rin expanded her quiet network of medics. They shared treatment methods and supply tracking tricks. They learned how to stretch medicine safely. They learned how to prove shortages without triggering penalties. Each report built a record that could not be ignored forever. She also trained medics to treat anyone in need, human or alien. Word spread. Some alien civilians began to trust human clinics more than their own. That trust would matter later. Choi Soong-tae became a shadow in space. His ship appeared on schedules exactly when expected. Nothing about him looked unusual. Yet his memory held hundreds of small details. Which alien crews argued? Which officers skipped inspections? Which supply ships carried critical components? He shared only what was needed when it was needed. No single failure could expose the whole picture. Han Su-min watched the data shift. At first, the changes were almost invisible. Energy imports dipped. Transport delays increased. Alien internal complaints rose. Their systems were built for control, not flexibility. When humans reduced dependence, alien efficiency fell. She began mapping pressure points. The first true test came without warning. An alien administrative hub controlling 3 human systems suffered a processing failure. It was small, a timing mismatch between databases. Human technicians offered help immediately. The aliens refused, insisting on protocol. Hours passed. Then days. Cargo backed up. Permits failed to clear. Alien supervisors argued openly. When humans were finally allowed to assist, Park Ji-won's team fixed the issue in minutes. They used methods already common across human space. Alien officials were embarrassed. They thanked the humans stiffly and tightened oversight. But something important had happened. The aliens had needed humans. Kang Dae-hyan marked the event as the first proof. Control only worked when the controlled remained dependent. After that, similar incidents increased. Never planned together. Never repeated exactly. Just enough stress to reveal weakness. Human crews solved problems faster than alien systems could adapt. Trust began to shift quietly. Some alien civilians noticed. They asked questions. Why did human stations recover faster? Why were human workers calmer? The answers were simple. Humans helped each other. Alien leadership responded with stricter rules. More inspections. More limits. The effort backfired. Every new rule created new inefficiency. Humans learned to work around them. Aliens became trapped by their own structure. Lee Hae-rin faced growing pressure. Alien officials questioned her records. She showed them clean data, clear logic, no lies. They could not punish her without exposing themselves. One day, an alien official privately thanked her for saving his sibling weeks earlier. She listened and said nothing. Trust deepened. Choi Soon-tae witnessed a turning point when an alien supply convoy requested help after a navigation failure. Human pilots guided them safely. The alien commander admitted they had relied too much on automated systems. That admission spread quietly. Han Su-min prepared the next phase carefully. She packaged proof of deception into small, undeniable sets. Not accusations, just timelines, just documents. She sent them to neutral species trade councils through anonymous channels. The reaction was slow but real. Questions were asked. Audits were requested. Alien diplomats deflected, but cracks appeared. Kang Dae-hyan never rushed. He reminded everyone that survival came before victory. That exposure must come naturally. Forced truth could be denied. Discovered truth could not. Human space felt different now. Still poor. Still restricted. But steadier. People shared tools. Shared knowledge. Shared patience. Alien confidence began to fade. They sensed loss of control, but could not name the cause. They blamed individuals. They replaced supervisors. Nothing changed. One evening, Kang Dae-hyan gathered a small group in a forgotten cargo bay. No speeches. No flags. He simply spoke facts. Alien systems depend on what we provide. Their economy flows through roots we touch. Their authority relies on our cooperation. He paused. We will not attack their fleets. We will not burn their cities. We will let their own structure collapse when it can no longer feed itself. No one argued, because they already felt it. Happening. Across human and alien space. The balance began to tilt. Quietly, carefully, the aliens had built a cage around humanity. Now they were standing inside it too. Without realizing, the door was no longer fully under their control. The alien coalition felt the shift before it could explain it. Reports showed falling efficiency across multiple regions. Trade delays grew common. Supervisors blamed human workers, then blamed each other. New rules were written and enforced with sharp voices. The rules made everything slower. Kang De-hyun watched the response with care. Pressure always revealed character. He warned the network to stay calm. No open defiance. No celebration. Every success had to look accidental. Across several human systems, alien inspections increased. Ships were searched more often. Engineers were questioned. Medics were audited. The effort consumed alien time and focus. It also revealed their weakness. They did not understand how humans worked anymore. Park Ji-won stood beside an alien inspector inside a reactor hall. The inspector questioned her efficiency records. She explained every number with simple logic. Her systems were stable. Her output met limits. Nothing was broken. The inspector left frustrated, unable to act. Afterward, Ji-won quietly trained 2 more engineers. The knowledge spread again. Lee Hae-rin faced an official review board. Alien medical officers questioned her supply usage. She presented clean data and patient outcomes. Her results were better than alien clinics nearby. The board ended the review early. Later that day, an alien civilian brought food to her clinic as thanks. It was a small gesture. It mattered. Choi Seung-tae encountered his first open refusal. An alien commander ordered him to reroute through a longer path for no reason. Seung-tae complied without argument. The delay caused a missed delivery for alien equipment. The commander was blamed. Seung-tae was not. The system punished its own. Han Soo-min received replies from neutral trade councils. Questions were forming. Requests for clarification. No accusations yet. Just interest. She sent additional verified documents. Still no emotion. Just facts. Alien diplomats began visiting neutral stations more often. They spoke quickly and avoided details. That behavior was noted. On a border world, an alien supply center failed to meet quotas for 3 cycles. Human technicians offered help again. This time, the aliens accepted immediately. Humans stabilized the center using methods common in human space. Alien leadership recorded the solution and tried to copy it elsewhere. They failed. Human methods relied on trust and shared judgment. Alien systems relied on rigid authority. Kang De-hyun saw the pattern deepen. He approved the next step. Information sharing widened. Human workers were encouraged to explain processes openly to alien counterparts. Not secrets, just daily work. The aliens listened, confused by how much decision power humans held at low levels. That confusion spread upward. Lee Hae-rin organized joint training sessions for emergency response. Alien medics attended. They saw how humans adapted in real time instead of waiting for permission. Lives were saved. Respect followed. Park Ji-won assisted alien engineers on a failing grid. She showed them how to bypass unnecessary approval layers. The fix worked. Their supervisors were angry, but the results could not be denied. Trust shifted sideways, away from leadership. Alien leaders reacted with fear. They replaced officials. They increased surveillance. They accused human networks of coordination. They found nothing illegal. Public alien broadcasts changed tone. Words like cooperation were replaced with stability. Stability was threatened, they claimed, by uncontrolled human practices. Neutral observers noticed the change. Han Soo-min released a carefully timed dataset. It showed how alien policies caused inefficiency and suffering across multiple species, not just humans. It included testimonies, records, and economic impact charts. No human names were attached. The response was immediate. Neutral councils requested formal review sessions. Alien representatives objected loudly. That objection was recorded. Kong De Hyen felt the moment approach. He reminded the network again. No sudden moves. Let pressure do the work. Alien trade hubs began losing contracts. Insurance costs rose. Shipping partners demanded transparency. Alien systems struggled to answer without revealing the original deception. On human worlds, conditions stabilized slightly. Not because the aliens allowed it, but because humans no longer depended on them as much. Shared food networks reduced hunger. Local power solutions reduced outages. People noticed. Hope returned quietly. One evening, Lee Hae-rin treated an alien worker injured during a factory accident. The worker asked why humans helped even when treated badly. Hae-rin answered simply, "Because it is right." The worker shared that answer with others. Choi Soon-tae overheard alien crews arguing about leadership competence. Some questioned why humans were treated as a lesser species when they clearly solved problems better. That doubt spread faster than orders. Park Ji-won was invited to an alien engineering conference. She attended without pride. She spoke plainly. She explained human design philosophy. Simple systems. Flexible control. Responsibility at every level. Some alien engineers listened closely. Alien leadership saw influence slipping. They called emergency summits. They blamed human disobedience. They threatened sanctions. The threats rang hollow. Han Soo-min prepared the final proof package. The original treaty drafts. The war and planning. The intent to deceive. She verified everything 3 times. Then she sent it to the neutral councils with full timelines. The silence that followed lasted days. Then the questions came. Alien leaders denied the claims. Neutral councils requested hearings. Alien leaders delayed. Markets reacted. Confidence fell. Kong De Hyen gathered his closest contacts through secure channels. He did not speak of victory. He said the truth was now moving on its own. Across the galaxy, the story shifted. Humans were no longer seen as defeated survivors. They were seen as steady builders under pressure. Alien authority weakened not through force, but through exposure. The cage was visible now, and everyone could see who had built it. The collapse did not begin with explosions or attacks. It began with meetings that ended without agreement. Alien leaders gathered in polished halls and spoke for hours. They argued about trade losses, public trust, and outside pressure. Every solution required control they no longer had. Neutral councils demanded answers. Markets demanded stability. Alien systems demanded obedience. None of those demands matched reality anymore. Kong De Hyen watched the situation from a quiet station that did not appear on any important map. He read reports without emotion. Alien trade hubs were failing. Insurance networks withdrew coverage. Supply chains fractured as partners refused unfair terms. Humans did not cause chaos. They simply stopped holding broken systems together for free. Across human space, workers continued their routines. Food was grown locally where possible. Power came from modified systems that no longer relied on alien approval. Transport routes were shared openly among humans. Life was still hard, but it was stable. That stability became a contrast the galaxy could not ignore. Park Ji-won received requests from alien engineers, asking for advice without official approval. She answered carefully. She shared principles, not secrets. Build simple. Allow choice. Trust workers. Some alien facilities improved. Others failed when leaders blocked change. The difference was clear. Lee Hae-rin oversaw a growing network of clinics that treated anyone in need. Alien civilians traveled farther to reach human care centers. They spoke of fairness and calm hands. Word spread faster than orders. Choi Soon-tae noticed fewer patrols in human space. Alien fuel shortages grounded ships. Some patrol crews refused extended missions. Discipline weakened as trust and leadership faded. Han Soo-min monitored the final data streams. Neutral councils scheduled formal hearings. Alien leaders were invited to explain treaty planning and war end decisions. Attendance was required. The hearings were broadcast. Evidence was presented, slowly and clearly. Timelines. Draft treaties dated before ceasefires. Economic models showing planned dependency. No accusations. Just facts. Alien representatives denied intent. Their words conflicted with documents. Neutral observers noticed. Silence followed. Markets reacted immediately. Alien trade values dropped. Resource access was frozen pending review. Coalition authority fractured as member species distanced themselves from leadership decisions. Kang Dae-hyun sent one final message through the human network. Remain calm. Remain helpful. Do nothing that looks like revenge, because revenge would weaken. The truth. Alien leadership finally requested talks. They did not demand surrender. They requested cooperation. Their language had changed. The meeting took place on neutral ground. No flags, no armies. Just representatives and records. Kang Dae-hyun was not the only human present. Engineers, medics, pilots, analysts, people who had kept society alive under pressure. He spoke simply. The treaty was deception. The harm was real. Trust was broken. Alien leaders argued that punishment would destabilize the region. Kang Dae-hyun agreed. That is why we are not here to punish, he said. He presented terms. Alien control systems would be transferred to shared oversight. Human access to technology would be unrestricted. Resource extraction would follow equal trade law. Alien infrastructure within human space would be repurposed for joint use. Most important of all, no species would be bound by secret clauses again. The alien representatives hesitated. They had little leverage left. Neutral councils supported the terms. The agreement was signed. Across the galaxy, systems adjusted. Alien leadership structures dissolved into regional governance. Some resisted and failed. Others adapted and survived. Humans took control of trade hubs, energy grids, and logistics centers. Not by force, but by necessity. They repaired what was broken. They reopened routes fairly. They kept records public. The galaxy watched humans manage what others could not. Park G1 led large-scale system rebuilds. She promoted engineers based on skill, not rank. Productivity rose. Lee Hae-rin helped establish shared medical standards. Survival rates improved across species. Choi Soon-tae trained mixed pilot crews. Routes became safer. Han Soo-min assured transparency laws were written into every system. Data stayed open. Kang Dae-hyun refused titles. He returned to logistics work, planning flow instead of power. Years later, historians would debate when the war truly ended. Some would say it ended when the treaty was exposed. Others would say it ended when humans chose restraint instead of destruction. But among the people who lived through it, the answer was simple. The war ended when humans stopped believing the lie. They had been deceived. So they took back everything that mattered, not through conquest, but through endurance, clarity, and the quiet strength to build something better.